What up, guys? Hey, welcome back to Mount Fitness MBS Ministry, where I am your host, Brother Minister Mongoose, and where this ministry is living and promoting a holistic mind, body, and spirit path to health and wellness and to life overall, as well as putting a premium emphasis on this group of people that the Bible refers to as the have-nots. For those of you that may have plenty money, plenty resources, education, and all those different kinds of things, and you maybe are still have-nots in the sense that you don't have a sense of fulfillment, a sense of purpose, real joy, authenticity, then you too are amongst the have-nots. Make no mistake about it. So it's for the have-nots across the board, guys. That's what this ministry is all about. And this ministry, when it comes to mind, body, and spirit, the truth that's been revealed to me personally through God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, prayer, meditation, fasting, research, study, analyzation, implementation, things of this nature, good old-fashioned nuts and bolts experiences of life. The truth that's been revealed to me via those things is that when a human being properly merges, balances, and synthesizes their mentality, their physicality, and their spirituality, then one is able to take off and achieve things and be a part of things, encounter and experience things on levels that absent that holistic approach, one probably can't even perceive, let alone experience. So that's going to conclude the opening, guys. We're going to get right off into today's topic. But in a lot of ways, today's topic is synonymous to what I just said. I mean, it's seguitive, I should say, to what I just mentioned, because when you're talking about being at your best mentally, physically, and spiritually, that ultimately is powered by your spirit, man or woman, because it's the spirit that's really, really pushing you to say, you know what, mentally, I just need to be better, because the way I handle this, the way I think this through, the way I process this, the way I ignore or deny, some truths, that's your spirit, man, calling you to the carpet when it comes to your mental man or woman. And it's your spirit, man or woman, that's calling you to the carpet when it comes to your physicality. Hey, listen, I don't have to stop eating that, but I don't have to eat that as often, as I am. I don't have to go to the gym every day or whatever, but I should do something physically or whatever. So it's all being generated from your spirit, man or woman, and ultimately this is where you arrive in terms of what the hot button phrase is, the spiritual awakening. So awakened conscious, whatever you want to call it. That's what's powering it. And so what's at the center of that spiritual awakening in and of itself is, I've researched and studied and was totally devout, genuinely devout to pretty much all of the mainstream religions and philosophies, whether it's Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Christianity, Sufism, etc., etc. So what one ends up with, I'll be using the Bible as a reference, or this person that we most commonly refer to as Christ as a reference in making this point. What's at the apex, or what's at the core of this spiritual awakening that's powering, the mentality or the commitment to being better mentally and physically? What's at the core of that spiritual awakening is this thing that we call love, good old-fashioned love, and the person that embodies that in a way that at least most people can relate to, this reference point. The person that embodies that the most is Christ. So that will be our example that we will be using. That will be the archetype that we'll be using when it comes to love. So At the heart of everything that's powering this holistic approach is love. And what's at the heart, again, just as a point of reference, of this thing we call love is this person that we refer to as Christ. So let's take a look at that. We are told that, and most people believe, accept, and expect that when you're operating from love or from this Christ mentality, again, whatever your religion or denomination or whatever it may be, we're using Christ, at the risk of redundancy, we're using Christ as a reference point. We believe, we think, we were taught, people expect for us to be loving, Christ-like, and that love, people expect for it to be expressed in a certain way. It should always be expressed in a certain way, in a certain form. And regardless of the situation and circumstances, it should be just the love that the energetic frequency that we most associate with love, is the kind, the warm, the forgiving, the compassionate, the turn the other cheek type of love. And you may be out there struggling within yourself as you walk this Christ-like path, or this whatever path, or Allah, whatever, that path that you're committed to. As you walk that, you may be struggling within yourself to always exemplify this type of love, again, that's most commonly associated with love. It should always be, forgiving and merciful and turn the other cheek and all of that. And while that may be the most that may be the highest percentage, if you will, that may be the foundation of the holistic love in and of itself, but that's not love in and of itself in its entirety. And so whether it's you struggling to deal with that that truth in and of yourself, or whether it's your friends, your neighbors, your family, the people at the church, whatever, society, being misunderstood, because there's a different aspect of love. There's nuances, if you will, to love itself. And that's what we're talking about today. Holistic love, loving holistically. So you may be being challenged within yourself whenever you have these feelings, you have these thoughts, and maybe you even have the actual expressions of things that don't represent this most commonly associated action or frequency of love. In other words, you may check somebody. You may have to put somebody in their place. You may have to deny somebody. You may have to refuse somebody. You may have to cut somebody off. You may have to not be merciful, or you may be moving in things and situations in your life that, again, appear contrary to what we normally associate with love. But the fact of the matter is, it's not contrary to love. It's a higher, a greater / a more holistic expression of love. So if you're out there and you're dealing with this, we're going to speak on this for just a couple moments, and then the email link is always down in the description box if you have questions, or if you'd like for me to expand on my statements or whatnot. If you're out there Stop beating yourself up about the times when that situation requires a expression of love that doesn't fit inside of what we most commonly expect love to in the way that we most commonly express love, expect love to express itself. Most people are certainly going to not get this. Most people are certainly going to be put off by you. Hey, you call yourself a Christian. You call yourself a Muslim, a Hinduist, again, whatever. You call yourself a man or a woman of God, and I saw you check that person. I saw you deny that person. I saw you reject that person. But ultimately, it's not about them. Your path is not about them no more than it is about me or anyone else. Your path is about you, and you must know the truth. And you must do your absolute God-given best to walk in that truth. So whatever I can do to assist you, prayer, research or study material, words of encouragement, whatever the case may be, that's one of the reasons why the email link is always down in the description box. If you don't know, then you don't know. And if you're not cemented into what it is that you know, then you're equivalent to not knowing in the first place. Because in the stormy waters, in the rainy seasons, what you know, if you're not cemented, it gets washed away. There are different aspects, different nuances, different ways to express love, and those nuancical ways are just as essential, just as pivotal, and just as genuine as the things that we most commonly associate with love. The compassion, the mercy, the kindness, the forgiveness, the tolerance, the turn the other cheek. The other aspects of love are just as true as those aspects of love. So stop fighting within yourself. When you go to the mirror, whether it's metaphorically or literally, when you're being introspective with yourself, when you can hand on heart honest say that you handled that in a true, in a organic way, and in a way that aligns with the truth that the universe has downloaded to you about yourself, about the world we live in, and about that situation in and of itself, and you can look yourself in the mirror and say, yes, I did. Then whether you had to give that person a pat on the back, or that situation or whatever, a pat on the back or a foot in the you-know-what, then that was right. That was the right thing that was to do. And it doesn't make you any less loving for doing that. When you can look yourself in the mirror and honestly say that, like you're literally standing before God and you can't hide the truth, and man, whatever I did, my response, whatever, yes, it was in alignment with the truth about who God has made you to be, in the sense that the person that God made you to be is in alignment with who he is, not your political, your family, or your religious beliefs, but truly in alignment with God. When you can say that the way you handled that was organic and in alignment with that, then you did the right thing, regardless of if it expressed the most common aspect of love or not. Conversely, if you look yourself in the mirror and you cannot say, man, in my heart of hearts, standing right here before God, now I can't really say that I handled that the way that God would have God instructed me to handle that. A little fear got involved, a little ego, a little arrogance, a little revenge, whatever got involved. If that's what the truth is, then you're standing right before God. You can put that right at His throne, acknowledge it, admit it, ask for pray for repentance, and then pray for forgiveness and then repent, which means just change your ways. The next opportunity, do your absolute best, your God-given best, to handle the situation, differently, more accurately in terms of the way God would want you to handle it. But this message is here to encourage you guys to let it go. If you have to respond in a way that doesn't align with what we'll say is Christian views, or that's not Christ-like, if it doesn't align with what people expect and perhaps what you have been taught to expect, go to God with it, because there's different aspects of love that are just as real and oftentimes just as required as the aspects of love that we most associate with love: kindness and compassion and mercy. The other nuances of love are just as real and oftentimes just as required as those. So reach out if I could be of assistance to you. Embrace this truth and stand on this truth. Hard hat on, mouthpiece in, boots laced up, and 10 toes down. Stand on this truth. Because the inner you, because you're committed to being at your best mentally, physically, and spiritually, when you have to check someone or cut someone off or whatever, the inner you will, because we've all been indoctrinated into that same belief that, hey man, you got to be a Christian, you're a Muslim or whatever to be at your best. You should do this, man. You shouldn't have to be checking nobody down. You faking Christianity, you faking Islam or whatever. The inner you will raise up and cause an attempt to call you and your actions into questions. But this is why you can't just know the truth. You have to be cemented to the truth. For when that inner you rises up and try to tell you, hey man, you checked that dude, or you walked out on that business and they needed you, they were backed up, or whatever the case may be, you have to be cemented to the truth. And when they try and get you to doubt, whether it's your inner you or whether it's the outside people that are going to give you those dirty looks, those disappointing looks, maybe even a conversation that says, man, I thought you was a Christian, man. I thought you was a Hinduist, whatever. I saw how you confronted that person, or again, walked out of that company, when they were behind the schedule and you were the one that was in head of productivity, whatever. You have to let it all go, because the other aspects of love are just as real. The holistic love is just as real as what we would see the streamline love. Christ was not just about, and again, still using him just as a point of reference, whether it's Yahweh Selassie, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, not even the Buddha, not even Confucius, were just, it's about love. Not even this thing that we call God, not even his angels are just about love. Remember, that same God that says love and turn the other cheek is the same God that wiped out whole cities. So there's different aspects of love. And I'll mention a couple more different aspects and I'll get out of here. But just like God, It says, you know what? Vengeance is mine. Oh, wait a minute. I thought, well, if God can set out on vengeance, and there's a difference between vengeance and revenge, but if God can do those things and his angels can do those things and do much, much more in the doing those things, on a higher level in terms of, obviously, we're not going to go out and do some of the things that God has had his angels to do when his wrath is upon them. So stop going back and forth. Embrace the other nuances. When you're loving someone holistically, that means doing what's best for them and or yourself in that situation. And I don't mean yourself in a selfish way. Doing what's best in the terms of, hey, that company needs you, but at the same time, they were backed up and they needed you, but you knew it right after you got the job done, they were going to fire you anyway. Well, what's best for you? To bust your behind and stay loyal to them and you know they're going to knife you the next week? What's best for you? Let somebody literally continue to smack you across your face, or stand up for yourself? So, holistic love, there's so much more that goes into it than what we've been taught. Christ went into that temple, and out of love, he turned the table over, and I'm going to say this, guys, because some of you guys might not know. As you're aware of the fact that this is a different kind of ministry, and you may sense, I've mentioned it in several videos, and I continue to do it here and there. You may sense, or you may not, that I'm a different kind of minister. Now, I said that to say I'm about to use foul language, and sometimes I just use it, and I don't give a, hey, listen, if you're offended by foul language, then you might want to click off or fast forward. But let me say this, and I'll give a couple examples, and I'll get out of here. See, Christ wasn't this passive, docile little person that we've made him out to be. Christ was a revolutionary. And so he went into that temple, and out of love, he whipped some ass. No different than a parent who disciplines their children for darting in and out of traffic, playing games on their bicycle in the middle of rush hour traffic. Or, the 2-year-old that's been warned repetitively, or 3-year-old, whatever, just, steady sticking, things in the electrical socket outlet. When that parent disciplines that child, it's out of love. And when that parent disciplines that child, they don't stop I had to discipline him, so now I don't love him as much. The good book says that those whom he loves, he chastises. We're made in the image and in the likeness of who or what? That parent disciplines their child out of love. The drill sergeant who has to get in these guys' face, push them down sometimes. Whatever the things they do when they're getting them ready. They have to make them stand outside or go running in the rain, in the pouring rain. Maybe not feed them for a period or extended period of time. Let them run. They have to run them and exercise them in the blistering sun. And those guys that are in boot camp may say, hey, show the sergeant, hey man, look, they got blisters on their feet. They're tired. They're dehydrated. They're hungry. That drill sergeant, out of love, must continue to push them through the rigors of their exam. Why? Because he knows what's going to face them should they end up on the actual battlefield. They have to be prepared. And he loves them enough to discipline them, to exact a certain kind of love upon them that's not what we would call kind and merciful and fluffy. No different than a boxing or MMA coach, whatever analogy you want to use. That boxing coach, that boxing trainer, that MMA coach or trainer, hey dude, you got to be ready. So I got to take this 5 or 10 pound ball and pound it up against your waist and pound it up against your side. I got to have you doing push-ups while I hold your feet or basically kind of strap you down with some of the bands. When you come in there and you say your knuckles are sore and you got the calluses that are bleeding in your hand, I love you enough to say, hey man, we got to work today. So those are just a couple examples, man. I got to get out of here. But again, I encourage you guys to know the truth and embrace the truth, man. I personally get it a lot being a different kind of minister, and even having a different kind of ministry to where I literally get it a lot where either, I thought you called yourself a minister. When people see me dressed a certain way, maybe they see me or hear me, whatever, listening to rap music. They hear me using foul language. They may hear me listening to some 1980 Pink Floyd or AC/DC, Jethro Tull. The list goes on and on and on. Wait a minute. I thought you were a minister. You're not here to fit inside the box that people have been told that you should fit into. And that's literally all across the board. But it's important that you know that. And bringing this back home to when it comes to love, you may have to check somebody. You may have to disassociate with somebody. You may have to confront somebody. You may have to say, no, I'm not going to forgive you for that. When the angels had the revolt in heaven, they sent, I believe it was Methuselah or Enoch, and they begged Enoch or Methuselah, I'm pretty sure it was Enoch, which is the son or grandson of Methuselah, but hey, listen, go plead our case before God and tell him we're sorry, we need his mercy, we want this. And God said, no, he will not forgive them. So you may have to be not so forgiving. You may have to walk away. You may have to confront someone. And of course, if you're like me again, to thine own self be true, ultimately all across the board. But to zero this back in on the message, holistic love is about holistic love. The parent loves the child enough to discipline them. The good book says, whom he loves, he chastises. The drill sergeant, hey man, look, I know your feet are sore. You got cramps in your back. We haven't fed you in 2.5 days. You're out here in this blistering sun, exercising. Yeah, I love you enough to say you got to be prepared to this. So you got to be prepared for this. So I need to push you further because I love you enough. I got to keep pushing you further because if you get out on that battlefield and you wasn't prepared, that meant maybe I didn't love you as much as I said I did. Maybe I let the fuzzy wuzzy, oh, he's tired. Oh, he's exhausted. Maybe I let that get the best of me. But if I really, really love you, now I have to love you enough holistically and say, this is what you need. You need to keep running. You need to go hungry a little while longer, etc., etc. So keep that in mind, guys. This ministry does offer life coaching services. There's a variety of services that are designed to help strengthen and nourish the mind, the body, and the spirit. Those services include philosophical counseling, youth and young adult mentoring and counseling, clean-hearted spiritual teachings and practices, and certified fitness training. If you have any questions or if you'd like to schedule your initial consultation and evaluation in either or perhaps even all of those compartmentalized areas of services, be sure to hit me up by way of the email link down in the description box. Pardon me. If you got any value out of today's message, or if you think there's someone else that could get value out of today's message, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on the bell icon for notifications. Leave a comment. You can also become a sponsor and or financial supporter of this ministry, whether it's a one-time donation that the Holy Spirit would leave you to make, or perhaps you're interested in becoming a long-time sponsor. Either way, there's a Cash App link down in the description box, and again, the email is up there as well if you'd like to become a long-time sponsor of the ministry. And this is what I got for you guys today. Again, thank you so very much for your love, your time, your attention, your support, generosity, all of that good stuff. And again, KNOW, the truth, and then submit yourself to the truth. CEMENT, to the truth, yourself to the truth. Because the storms will come, and there will be times and situations where you may have to do one of those things. Walk away from somebody, cut somebody off, confront somebody, not engage with somebody, whatever. And that inner you will definitely, based on the fact that we've been born indoctrinated into this system that thinks, hey man, if you love somebody, you're always forgiving, you're always merciful, you're always kind. That's always at the apex of what we always are. But there's other nuances. There's holistic love that says, hey, I love you enough to confront you. I love you enough to get you up out of my face and not disrespect me. I love me enough to get you up out of my face and not allow you to continue to disrespect me. I love you enough, again, the different examples that I just gave. But again, that's what this ministry is for, to assist you in any and all ways on your journey, in your mentality, your physicality, and your spirituality. Thanks again for all the love and support. You have the contact information. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. And yes, I am Brother Minister Mongoose, and yes, I will holla back. Peace.